This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
Good evening, fellow Fox fans. How the devil are we? Welcome along. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock. We would normally in the past few weeks be doing a European show, but we're kind of out of that. We should be talking about Leicester City versus Rangers. What a game that would be. Just given Josh the pleasure of hosting the European show with me. As soon as we give it to Josh, we get knocked out. Maybe there's something in that. So what we're going to do today, we've got a special on today, and you can catch us on the three normal places. Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube, and please give that subscribe button a little click and follow us. That would be great. Facebook, Leicester Till I Die Live, and Twitter and Periscope at Leicester TID. Like I say, a bit of a special one this week tonight. We're going to be looking at the Premier League season so far. Start off by looking at it for Leicester, and then a general look and see how we're doing. It's been a bit of a funny season, all in all, with everything that's gone on. There's a lot of things that we weren't expecting. So we're going to be talking through that with Josh. And tonight we have a special guest with us. For those of us of a certain age like me, and he hasn't changed a bit, I'll tell you, he hasn't changed a bit. Richard Smith, for those of you that are of a younger age, he played for us. Well, he came through the youth system, and he looks about 18 there. He came through the youth system and played 98 times for Leicester, from 88 to 96, under, I think it was 4 different managers, Pleat, Little, McGee and O'Neill. From the ridiculous to the sublime, let's put it that way around with those managers, and went on to Grimsby Town. He played for as well. So we're going to say hello, and let me just get rid of that and bring Richard in. Good evening, Richard. How are you?
Good evening, Chris. Yeah, really good, thank you.
Good. You haven't changed a bit.
Very kind of you. I don't see myself in the same light, but no, I'll take your word for it.
You just got as fearful as you were then to any attacker. Anyway, let's bring Josh in and say good evening, Josh. Our unlucky charm when it comes to Europe. 2 shows and we're out. What have you done to us, mate?
Yeah, good evening, chaps. I don't know. I think if we are to make Champions League next year, maybe sack me off that show. I would.
Definitely. No, I'm only joking. How's that? You got shaved, I see. You did have the shave.
I did. I regretted stating that I would had we won the game, and then we all know what happened on Saturday. So I'm a man of my word. I had a trim on the Sunday morning. It's growing back now though, so hopefully we'll back to full length within the next couple of weeks.
I'm just going to put you on solo layout there, just so people can see your beauty. And see, It's like a baby's bottom, isn't it?
It's definitely. I'd say it's shaved. It shaved a few years off me. I don't really like it though. I think my missus weren't keen on the big beard. Then as soon as I shaved it off, she said she weren't keen on this look either. So I can't win either way, really.
Hey, you never can with women, can you?
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Richard, Josh made the silly thing. We were playing that badly on. I don't know if you saw the game at the weekend. The first half was awful. And he said, if we win this, I'll shave my beard off.
Brilliant. I'm loving the tattoo, by the way, Josh. Love the tattoo.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
That's very good artwork. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
That's the difference. Josh has some really, really, really good tattoos. I just have chat shit, get banged. Hey. Got me in the sun, and it wasn't as a page 7 fellow either, unfortunately. So we're going to say good evening to the Bronze Plumber. Hello, mate. Thanks for joining us. Liam did a nice little bit of fancy artwork there. LCFC, nice to have you along. Leave a like, everyone. That would be great, Liam. Thanks very much for saving that. David Gamble, good evening, David. I'm sure David, knowing David as I do, that he'll remember you, Richard. And we have, as always, our Villa fan who really, 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 really wants to be a Leicester fan, Stefan. How are you doing, Stefan? How did Villa get on at the weekend? Oh, it's Monday night. Yeah, let's not go there for you. Right, so no match this week because, like I say, we should have been playing Rangers, but we've had that little pleasure taken away from us. So we're going to have a look at our season so far and how we're doing. So I'm going to come to you first, if I can do, Richard, and what your highlight of the season so far has been. There we go, Philbert with the balloons there. It's not been a bad season. What would you say has been your highlight so far?
Well, there's quite a few, isn't it, to be honest with you? But I think for me, it's the consistency of the team at the moment. That is the highlight for me. It is that consistency. And I know we've had a few defeats at late, but I think the first half of the season was absolutely just brilliant to watch. And I'm just loving the consistency that Brendan's brought to the squad. And I just feel we've got that benchmark now, and we've set that standard. And if we can keep that consistency, for me, it's top 4 all day long at the minute.
I mean, Richard, and that's even more amazing when you come to think of how depleted the team has been. And, sometimes Brendan hasn't had a choice of who he can play in certain positions. It's been a case of if you're not on the treatment table, stick your hand up and you'll get a game. So
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Again, it's too late, isn't it? With the injuries, it's recently kind of caught up with us, and we're starting to see that creep into the to affect the squad as it is. But the players that keep coming in, and Iniacho's he's showing signs now of consistency, which we haven't seen for such a long time. And I just think the longer these kind of players keep getting a chance, it's only going to benefit the squad long term.
Yes, indeed. And you say some people might look at that and go, consistency. We've started losing, but we haven't lost. I mean, yes, all right, over the season we've possibly lost sort of 7, but we're no worse than a lot of teams, or so-called big teams. And when you look up until the recent couple of losses, and we're back to winning ways now, albeit maybe sort of a bit lucky. We haven't lost in 15.
Oh, exactly. But I mean, when I mean by consistency, I mean we're the only side to stay in the top 4, the only club, to stay in the top 4 all season. So for me, that is consistency.
Yes.
You got to look at the bigger picture, the whole season. I know we're not finished yet, but we're 3/4 of the way through. And for us to be the only side who's been in the top 4 all season, for me, that is consistency. Yeah.
Well, let's hope it doesn't jinx it and we stay there now and not do a repeat of last season. Josh, what about yourself? What's been your highlight so far this season?
For me, one of them was going to be what you've said about the strength in depth we've had so far, and the players that have come in have all done a massive job for us. And as Richard said, you know, to be in the top four since the ball was kicked for us all season, if you know, you'd sort of, I think if you'd have said that to any Leicester fan 10 years ago, they wouldn't believe you, really. And I don't think any, you know, you think you're bloody mad. Also, I think the fact that we've done so well against the so-called Big Six this season as well. We've had some cracking results, whereas, you know, last season, obviously, we got turned over by Man City, Liverpool, you know, United, Spurs. It's nice to see that we can sort of go toe to toe with them bigger teams now, and so other fans sort of see us as in the same bracket as the so-called Big Six. That's been a big highlight for me, going into them sort of games and thinking, you know what, we've got a massive chance to get a result today. That's been a massive highlight for me this season.
I think early on in the season, up until just recently, for me, going back when we won the Championship, I nearly said Champions League then, that would have been a fraudulent slip. Going back to the season we won the Championship, whenever we went into one of those games and we went behind, I never felt we weren't going to get something from the game. You know, and a number of times we did go behind and we always came back, and we only lost 3 games all season. But for me, 2 things really. Sort of, it's the fact of I've got that feeling at the start of the season. You know, no matter how bad we played in the first half, you know, we seem to play better. You know, if we could have just played all our games in the second 45 minutes, we'd probably be top of the league and running away with it. But, you know, for me, and I don't know if you guys got that feeling at all earlier in the season.
I did. I think sort of, I know, especially going into the first game against West Brom, for me, that would be a potential banana skin, really, especially with the amount of players without injured, and, you know, the bounce of a newly promoted team coming up, and you're sort of thinking, we might, you know, looking at games, then you obviously at Burnley after that, you're sort of thinking, well, where we're going to get his first win from, really. But like you say, I think with the way we started the season and what we're coming into the last 10 games, and as Richard said, you know, being in the top 4 all season, not slipped out of it once. It's still nerve-wracking to say the least, but you'd like to think that we'll hopefully this season we'll get the job done this time.
Yeah. And just Richard, for me again, it's the young players that have come through. They've not let us down. You know, we've JJ, he's come through quicker than we probably would have wanted him to, and for me, he's been like the player of the season. But when we've called upon the youngsters, they've played so well, and it bodes well for the future.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we all know the squads need to be deep with strength, if you like, don't they? Every squad that's in the Premier League now, to be able to achieve anything, you've got to have that strength in depth, and we've always struggled with that, I think, to be honest with you, up until Brendan's come in, and he's started to really build a real strong squad, if I'm honest with you. I think we all know that we're still quite a few players short of where we want to be in certain areas, but you know, for the likes of Fofana that's come in at is he 19, 20?
Yeah.
I mean, what a signing that's been. And I think maybe he's been put into it earlier than anticipated, but he's just, you know, he's took to duck to water in that position. He's been fantastic to watch. And he touched on JJ there. I mean, such a shame with his injury, but I think he would have been up for some kind of award this season throughout the Premier League.
Yes.
You know, it's fantastic to see. But we've still got the old heads. I mean, Albrighton's still putting in his shift. You know, he's still consistent. We know what we're going to get from him. And I think that blend that we're getting now from the squad, you know, I think it's just give us that consistency, which I keep going on about. You know, it's there. It's just we need them injuries. Everybody's having injuries, aren't they? But, you know, it's who can deal with them the best.
Liam there says, imagine James Justin, Fofana, Barnes, Ndidi in 3 years. I mean, if we can hold on to these players, Richard, even if it all does kind of fall apart this season, it's a lot to look forward to.
Oh, unbelievable! Yeah, I mean, them names there that he's just listed is it's frightening, isn't it? The development for them players, if they stick with Brendan, because he is the type of manager that can coach young players and bring them through. If they stick around for a few more years, it's really exciting for us. Maddison as well, you know. He's at the top. He seems like he's on the top of his game now, but the development, he can still get better.
Yeah. Okay, moving on then. We're all gushing and how well we're doing here, but there's been a couple of lowlights. I'm going to sort of get my friend Homer in there. The alpha lowlight or loser, whichever way you want to look at it. But for me, I'll kick this one off, and I think it was going out of Europe, having got done so well, and I know we clung on to get into the Europa League, but I think that was possibly where we belonged this season. The Champions League might have been a bit too early for us. But Josh, coming to you, for me, it was the way, not the fact that we went out, because I don't know whether we would have won it at all, but it was the way we went out. That was the low light for me, was we went out with a whimper.
I'm with you on that, mate. That was excuse me, that was going to be my low light. Had we battled and played a lot better than we did, it wouldn't have been a low light really. But as you say, Chris, it's the way we played. Even a goal down, there was just no urgency. We didn't really look like we were that desperate to get back into the game. And I mean, I don't know. There's been a lot of football played this season. So I mean, and I think the last few weeks the players have really started to look a lot more tired, especially players like Yuri Tielemans, who's played the majority of games for us. I don't know how he's still going, to be honest. But yeah, for me, I agree with you. We're going out of Europe the way we did, and I'm with you on that 100%. I think I wasn't disappointed that we went out. Obviously, you want to go as far as you can, but it was the way we went out that really made me maybe disappointed more than anything.
Yeah, Richard, your any low lights for the season?
I mean, I totally agree with you guys. Yeah, the way we went out in the Europa was it's disappointing to get that far. But I mean, this is coming from an ex-player myself who's been through a lot of injuries in my career, and I kind of feel for the players who are going through this now, especially JJ. For how well he was doing and how well he was playing, he was in form of his life, to suffer such an injury like that, which is going to set him back quite a way. And also with Pereira as well, I feel for them, in all honesty, and for me that's low for me, because I understand what those players went through, and what they're going through, and then the amount of time and the rehabilitation it's going to take them to get back to where they need to. But yeah, it's other than the Europa, the injuries. I know everybody else is having injuries as well, but obviously we focus on our team, and for me, that's the downside. And is that because so many games in short space of time, the players are not having enough time to recover? And yes, they should be fit enough, this, that, and the other, and they get paid X amount. But you know what? They're human beings, aren't they, at the end of the day? So, low point for me is injuries.
That was going to be my next question, actually. Is that because it's not just one team? Like normally, Man City say it. They think, oh, come on, you got enough money to have, 2 first-team squads out there. But, we only had a short pre-season, Josh. A lot of games in there. I think we may have touched on this before. It's not a normal season, and everybody's suffering the injuries, and it probably is too much in too short. It's like playing tournament football week in, week out, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know what? It's nice to actually have a midweek sort of off. And not having. I'll watch Leicester every day of the week if it comes to it. But it's nice to literally have a bit of a break during the week, and hopefully it gives the lads a bit more time to recover. And against Sheffield United at the weekend, they'll the performance might be slightly better than what it has been recently. Like I say, I think it's literally because the players are absolutely it's completely shattered. And as Richard said, because we had that many injuries that we've had to have players like Yuri and other sort of players that have had to play no matter what, really, regardless. It has been a strange old season. Whether we'll see the likes of it again, I hope not, personally, purely for the fact that injuries to not only ourselves and other teams, it's definitely affected the way the league's been. It's been weird, and like you say, there seems to be that much football, and because obviously we have the Europa League campaign, League Cup we went out early, but been in FA Cup, there's been more midweek Premier League games than there has been since I can remember. So it's been pretty relentless, definitely.
Yeah, obviously, I'm going to make the pun, but I'll probably come back to it later. But Under was underperforming this season. Richard, can I ask you as an ex-player, does it annoy you when people say, and I used to say this more so than I do now, I think I probably understand it more, but and you alluded to the point before, is that, come on, you're on all this, well, players these days certainly are on all this money now. You're only playing 90 minutes on a Wednesday, 90 minutes on a Saturday. You shouldn't be getting tired. These guys work down the pit and this guy works 70 hours a week at the hospital. It is different. Did that used to annoy you as a player, if you heard that?
I guess it would do if you was a player, because how much you put into each session and each game. You don't leave anything out on the pitch. You put everything in. And for the games to be on such a fast turnaround, these are elite sportsmen. They're at the top of their game, and they're so finely tuned now that extra bit of stress that they get put on their bodies. I know they get all monitored and dated. Everything comes from that now. But I said, they're human beings. There's only so much the body can take. Where, like Josh has just pointed out, it's nice to have this week where we've got a bit of a recovery period. Albeit it's a week where maybe we're used to having 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off. It's you're just not getting it. But the players, they'll do whatever they can. They'll put their heart out there and they'll give it all they can. And I think that's just showing why the injuries have been increased this year as well.
I think that showed against Brighton. They hadn't had the game midweek. We had, and I think it did catch up with us. Moving on again now, let's have a look at the next section we're going to cover. And I put overperforming players there, and I probably worded it wrong, but players, and for me, I mentioned him once already, JJ, he stands out like a shining beacon in how, the sort of season he's had. Josh, come to you with this one first. Players that have sort of stood out for you this season?
You took one of my answers there. I was going to say James Justin. Not that last season, when he played a lot of football for us last season, obviously, because we had Chilwell out for a long time, and Ricardo obviously got injured. Like I say, he performed well last season for us, but I didn't really expect him to jump up in performance this season like he did. And like you said earlier, Chris, for me, up until his injury, he was our main player. Dangerous going forward, really good in defence, and he were, for me, one of the first names on the team sheet. And you said that at the start of the season when you sort of wait for Ricardo to come back. We brought Castagna in. If you'd have said to me that I'd be saying that months down the line that James Justin was one of our more important players, again, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So Justin's definitely up there. I think as well, Harvey Barnes, again, last season, he did well for us. But I think, unfortunately, again, we're talking about injuries all the time here, but up until his injury, again, he was another massive important player for us. And the fact that looks like he's going to be out for a long time is massively disappointing. So yeah, for me, James Justin and Harvey Barnes, but it's not doing a disservice to them at all. It's because last season they did more than a good job for us, but this season they've just gone on to a much better level, which you think Harvey Barnes got in the England squad, and then it looked like James Justin might have got called up for the Euros as well. So it's a massive shame. So for me, it's definitely them too.
Yeah, I would agree. Like you say, it is a different level. Richard, agree, or you got somebody else in mind?
Totally agree with what Josh has said. Yeah, you can't fault those two guys. But for me, another name I want to put in there, just because I know how difficult this position is to get into, is Fofana to come straight into that position from nowhere. I mean, I don't know what he was like at his previous club. We didn't really, we never saw any of that. But for me, he's just slotted in like he's been there forever. It's been a breath of fresh air to watch. Yeah,
he is. I mean, like I say, another one that we wouldn't have expected, and he wouldn't have expected to play as much as he played so soon. They can sort of gently sort of blend him in, so to speak. But it was a case of throwing him at the deep end, and boy, as he swam. And I'm going to add another one in here that if you'd asked me this at the start of the season, I would have laughed. I would not have even have said this, but it's a player that we signed that I was so excited when we signed him. Has been a huge disappointment, but then hasn't really been given the chance. But Inacho, these last few games, he's stepped up to the mark. Vardy isn't scoring. You can't leave Vardy out because he can have a bad 89 minutes and he just needs that 1 minute to score. But I just think, like I say, these last few games, he's really, really stepped up to the challenge. Would you agree, Richard?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I'm so pleased for him. I am so pleased because I know sometimes he looks like he isn't trying, how he has done in the past, but I believe that he is. And he just seems to have found a spark there, whether that's because he's been playing consistently, he's getting a bit more game time. He scored a wonderful goal the other night, and against was it Burnley? Nacho scored. Was it Burnley he scored against as well? Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah.
The last two goals he scored have been fantastic, and that should give him loads of confidence. And it's been great to watch.
And Josh, he got your favourite type of goal from a corner against Brighton in the cup.
He did, and I mean, I think Nacho has his doubts amongst especially our fans. But I've said to you before, Chris, when it's a purple patch, the goals will come, and it's evident at the minute, and he seems to be thriving, especially playing alongside Vards up top. I think they definitely work better as a two, or Nacho plays better as a two with Vardy. He's been superb, and as you say, his goal against Burnley in midweek was incredible, and then he's got his goal on Saturday as well. At first, I genuinely thought he might have took it too far and took an extra touch, but sort of lift it over the keeper the way he did shows how confident he is at the minute, and long may it continue.
Yeah, I mean, it was a case. I thought that when he was, I think, just kick it, but he was literally waiting for the goalkeeper to commit. And Liam, I don't think we did ignore how good Harvey Barnes is. I think we mentioned him, and Josh spoke highly of him. Tony, good evening, Tony. How the devil are you, sir? Vardy hasn't scored for 13 games, and he was given the goal against Liverpool. But you can't not put Vardy on. I'm sorry, he just keeps the defence busy, and he only needs a minute. And he can turn the game for you. Again, you can probably guess what's going to come now. Having looked at the overperforming players, let's have a look at the, no pun intended for under, but the underperforming players. I've gone for two here, and you can probably guess the first one. I think it needs no explanation. That's Perez. I don't think he's lived up to his price tag. Brendan obviously likes something about him, Richard, but he's just, for me, I don't know. I don't. You may see something in him as an ex-player that we don't. But for me, like I say, I know he's injured now, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But he hasn't delivered.
No, I think you're right there, Chris. Yeah, it's always difficult to kind of put players down, but he hasn't. He has got quality. I've seen quality in him at times. So you can see flashes of it, but for whatever reason, he's just not fitting in, and I don't know. It looks like his work ethic and his contribution is just not up to scratch for where we are. I don't know whether he needs to go out somewhere and get some game time, somebody else, and then find some form. But at the moment, he's struggling.
And anybody else, would you say under that, or?
No, I'm with you on that. I just singled one player out myself. I think everybody else has had a part to play to where we are today. But I'll just stick with Perez for now.
Yeah, Josh, I'd also unfairly, perhaps, or fair, I don't know. It's all about opinions, football, isn't it? And we spoke earlier about Soyuncu. He since he's come back from injury, for me, he's not the player that he was last season. But obviously, the formation has changed. But who have you gone for in this section?
Again, I'm going to go with you, lads. For me, Chris, I like Jose Perez, and I think when he performs well and he's on his game, I think he's a good player for us. I think for the money we paid for him, he hasn't lived up to the price tag, and I begrudgingly say that because I do really like him. But again, like Richard said, everybody sort of this season has sort of really contributed towards where we are, and for the games he's played, Perez, he hasn't done enough for me. And like I say, I do hate to say it, 'cause I do really like him. I want it to work out. I want it to work out for him with us, but he's not. I mean, I've argued the question before. I've said many a time, well, we don't play him in his usual position. He's more of a central player rather than a right winger. But when we played him sort of as a centre attacking mid, and we played him up front for a couple of games, he's still not really done anything. So for me, it's got to be Perez, unfortunately.
And I think he's also tried to play him when Maddison was injured in that Maddison role, Josh. But he hasn't done that. Pratt's coming back. Apparently, he'll be the next player back. He's below Pratt, and he's below for me now Inacho as well.
Yeah, and I know we said the other week when Perez started over Nacho, and we thought Nacho's time were done with us, to be honest with you. Yeah. It's sad. I think when he comes back, he's still got part to play, and as you said, I think Brendan sees something in him. I don't think you can never knock his work rate. He works hard for the team, I feel, and he tracks back a lot and does a lot of running, but I think the way you look at it this season is literally every single player's put a shift in just the same, and they're performing a lot better. So I don't really think he can. I don't really think he can survive on work rate alone anymore. So it's Perez for me, unfortunately. But I hope he could come back and prove me wrong.
We all hope that with Leicester players, always. So Richard, Leicester. I'm worried that we're about to go the same way as last season and finish with a bit of a whimper and lose the place at the end. But what can we achieve in your eyes? What can we achieve this season?
I hope not, Chris. I hope it's not going to peter out like it did last year. But if we can maintain some of this consistency and grind out results such as the Burnley draw, it wasn't pretty, but we got a point. And then the Brighton win at the weekends. If we can grind out results like that while we slowly get players coming back, then Champions League is most definitely, I'll be disappointed if we don't make that, in all honesty. I will be disappointed. For me, Champions League is got to be a real possibility. That's what we've got to go for. That is for the position that we've got ourselves into, and the consistency that we've shown all season up until this point. If we can just get a few more players back now, get that strength back in the squad, and find a little bit of form again, there's no reason why we can't. We've got a tough run in now, haven't we? The next few games, so that I think come to the end of them next 3 or 4 games, we'll have a better idea, I guess.
And Josh, we can't miss out 2 seasons running, or can we? What do you think we can achieve?
Hopefully we'd have learned from last season. as I've said, and I said to you before the Brighton game, I'm sort of happier in the position we are this season with teams only a certain amount of points behind us, because hopefully it will spur us on a bit more and give us a bit more drive to go into every game sort of thinking, well, we can't take us foot off the gas here. I've said to you before, start of this season for me, because we had Europa League on, I thought anywhere in the top 8 and a good Europa League run, maybe a good cup run in the FA Cup, which again, we got to the quarters, so we've sort of nailed that. That would have been a good season for me. But having, been, like we keep saying this in the show, not being out of the top 4 all season, to finish anywhere lower than 4th now, it'd be a massive disappointment. But you know what? I think we could take a lot of heart from. We've been in the question of people saying to people in the media and that saying, can Leicester crack that top 4? And again, this season, regardless, we've had another real good go at it. So hopefully we could be as consistent season on season now, and at least be in the question each year. So anywhere I'd say anywhere in the top 4 is absolutely amazing, and hopefully we can see it out this year.
And neither of you have mentioned it, so I'm going to ask you as a direct question, Richard. First of all, can we win the FA Cup? Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, Leicester City.
Yeah, well, of course we can win it. I don't think we will, in all honesty.
Right.
But it's them one-offs again, isn't it? It's who turns up on the day.
Yeah, the cup games you'll remember from the Brian Little playoff finals. Yes,
I wouldn't put a bet on it personally this year, but I'm no good
I think
at
if we probably, Josh, if we didn't have as many injuries, possibly, if we had the full strength squad, which we haven't, can we win it?
I'd like to think so again, but I think you got to look at the teams, like United, they're going to be favourites for it. I think, the thought of Man City could possibly win a quadruple, so they're going to be right up for winning that as well. We're a bit unfortunate, with there's I hate to say it, there's sort of better teams than us left in the competition, but you never know. You get past Man United in the next round, and then you go into the semis, and anything can happen. So I think we can, but unfortunately, I don't think we actually will.
Stefan, I don't know what you quite mean by this, but apparently you'll be going in Sophie live for a bit. See you later, Stefan. Whatever floats your boat. I think, is that a bit like Babe Station? Is it Sophie Station? I don't know. I'm not. He's a Villa fan. It could mean anything, couldn't it? You know what? Rob here is saying, how long is Maddison out for? I'm not sure. We've not heard anything. Sorry, the Tony said that. Sorry. Rob McFarlane, I agree, can only go one way onto his left foot, easy to mark. I think that was the Perez replying to the Perez comment. So we all seem to think we're going to get top 4. So fingers crossed that that's how it will work out. Brendan, we love him, and he frustrates, and we love him in equal measures. He obviously knows a lot more about football certainly than me and Josh. Because a number of times we sit there and go, well, the Brighton game, like, what the hell is he doing with that team? And then he pulls off a win. He knows a lot more. Richard, will he be with us next season, or will he be poached by a bigger club? And if he is approached, will he go, do you think?
He's always going to get interest, isn't he? Because of his his coaching style and what he's brought to Leicester now. He's put himself right in the shop window. But for me, he's still got a job to do. He seems the type of manager who has a project. To come and work for a club like Leicester City in the position they're in at the moment, this has got to be one of the best jobs in football. It's got to be. So I don't think personally that Brendan will be going anywhere. I think he's got a good few seasons yet. and he wants to build on what he's already built. You know, continue that success.
And Brad, what am I saying? Josh, sorry. I'm sure you've been called worse in your time. Brad's the one with hair. You're the one with no hair.
Yeah, that's it.
Same question to you. Have we got Brendan long term, or if he's approached, do you think he would go?
I bloody hope we've got him long term, because, as Richard said, you know, he's building something with us here, and the team he's building, he's sort of building around certain players. You know, I think he speaks so highly of Jamie Vardy, and obviously he sort of tries to play to his strengths. For me, he's not only that, but I think if he's here for the next couple of seasons, he's just going to be a massive. He's a massive part of the club now, but. If he is to go, and I don't believe he sees us as a stepping stone, because I think we are now sort of that established as a club. God forbid he does ever leave for whatever reason. If he does go to, you know, a Spurs, or, you know, an Arsenal, Chelsea, just such further down the line, then you can't begrudge him that, because he is a top quality coach. But I think if he ever is to leave, we're sort of in a position now where we can and we will attract sort of big name managers as well. So. Yeah. All I can say is I hope he's with us for a really long time, because what he's done for us so far has been outstanding.
I think we can all say, before we move on, the future is bright, the future is blue, to coin an advertising phrase for a mobile phone company. And comment here from Brett. Hello again, Brett. How the devil are yourself and Mrs. Ahern? Lovely picture, by the way. I think Brendan realises that a special club with the best employers, and also, I've got to say, the best facilities as well. Not many clubs have got training grounds like ours. But looking at the rest of the Premier League, and teams here that we are looking at, the overperforming teams, if you like, teams that are doing better than we would have expected. I mean, I've got two, which basically are West Ham and Villa, both the claret and blue teams. And, you know, Villa doing a bit of a Leicester, having had a bad year, Richard, last season, a bad season. West Ham, you know, David Moyes was one of the favourites to get, you know, sacked this season, and he's done really well. Would you agree with those two, or do you think there's other teams that have done equally as well, or overperformed as well?
I think you're spot on there, Chris. Yeah, I mean, I've put West Ham down myself. Traditionally, you know, a big club, aren't they? I say a big club. History-wise, they're a great tradition. But for me, yeah, they are overperforming from the David Moyes standards, because I'm really not a big Moyes fan. I'm really not. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know exactly. I can't put my finger on it, but I just don't like him as a manager. And but I take my hats off to him that, you know, they're performing at the moment. And yeah, it's good to see, though. It is good to see.
He speaks very highly about you, Richard. Brett, you've said, you see, Everton. Brett, you said West Ham, you've also said Everton, but for me, Everton have spent a hell of a lot of money. They've got the top manager in, so they're probably where I would have expected them to be. Josh, those two, or somebody else performed well for you?
I have West Ham again. I think that sort of goes without saying. To be where they are, I think, you know, for the last few seasons they've sort of been battling relegation up until the last 6-7 games, and then they've sort of managed to pull away every year. So yeah, definitely without that, for me, West Ham, they look a really strong team. They've brought in really good players as well, such as, you know, Souček and players like that. So they're definitely overperforming. When we say overperforming as well, you know, it's not a disservice to anybody, because when we won the league, you know, anything can happen. Also, it's probably going to, you know what, it's probably going to sound make me sound bloody mental, but I want to put Fulham up there as well. I know they're in the relegation zone, but I'd say overperforming, because for me, the first few games, they looked terrible. They looked like they were just going to limp out of the league, but I think for the performances they've put together the last couple of months, they're getting vital wins, as you saw on Sunday as well against Liverpool. They're overperforming for me personally, because I didn't think they'd even be with a shout of staying up at this point in the season. I thought they'd be pretty much where Sheffield United are down. So for me, I'd have to sort of put Fulham up there as well. For me personally, I'm that, you know, don't speak for everybody, but yeah, I think they're doing really well as well at the minute. I could see them staying up.
Going now.
I was going to add one more on. I was going to add one more on there actually, because I've just put a little note here from. I've actually really enjoyed watching Leeds United this year. Every game that I've seen them play, the games that they're involved in are absolutely fantastic. And I think they've been absolutely a bit of a breath of fresh air to the Premier League this year. They're a bit fearless. They've gone out to try and win every game. Yeah, I'm impressed with them.
They very much remind me of Tottenham Hotspur when they had Ardiles as manager, which was basically, if we concede 4, we're going to score 5.
Yeah. Great to watch, aren't they? Great to watch.
They laid that marker down, and I think it was 4-3. I think they lost to Liverpool in the first game. They laid that marker down. But yes, probably again newly promoted, probably better than we would now. Now, had you asked me this time last season, and going now to the other side of the coin, the underperforming teams, I wouldn't have said Sheffield United would be anywhere near this. I'd have put them in the overperforming. But they've literally gone from one extreme. Oops, getting finger trigger happy there. Just get rid of that. They've gone from one extreme, Richard, to the other. And they've really surprised me, to put it bluntly, how awful they are. I mean, long may it continue up until the weekend at least.
It's been surprising. Yeah.
Expected them not to win, but for me, the other team would be Burnley, who have struggled more than I would have expected them to. What about yourself for underperforming teams, Richard?
I've gone for some bigger teams, to be honest. I've gone for Liverpool and Arsenal, because Liverpool, for the standards that they set last year or the last couple of seasons, and for them, I know they've had injuries from the start, but it's just. I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect that. And especially the home form that late has been shocking. And Arsenal, I mean, again, a massive club. I just don't think Arteta's, he's obviously not got it going for how he wants it to go, but they're just not performing for me. And the standards that they should be at is well below par.
Arsenal are very much treading water, because they're pretty much in the same position as they were last season when Arteta. I think he took out. Was it full season last season? I'm not sure, but Arteta. No, he'd come in because he won them the FA Cup, didn't he? And you'd expect them to move on from that, being Arsenal, and they haven't. So yeah, I can see what you mean there. Josh, underperforming for yourself? Not that you're underperforming, of course. I wouldn't say that.
I think, as Richard said, I agree with him on Liverpool. I didn't expect the drop off in them at all. I expected them to, if they weren't going to win the league, I thought they'd be in with a shout. For me, I think Wolves are a team that have underperformed for me this season. I think a lot of, me myself included, a lot of people sort of had them to sort of be pushing for at least Europa League, finishing 5th, maybe 4th, maybe breaking into the top 4 alongside ourselves. Wolves. I think Chelsea haven't performed. I know. They're starting to pick up results here, like now, the last few weeks, but they've underperformed. I think for the money they've spent, I expected them to at least be in the title race as well. But the big one for me is like Richard said, it's definitely Liverpool. I don't think anybody saw this drop off, and I think they've had I know just recently they've had a lot of personal issues with obviously Jurgen Klopp's mum died, and Alisson, the goalkeeper's dad, died. So things like that are obviously going to have a big effect as well, and it is really sad. So, but yeah, Liverpool for me definitely.
I think Liverpool proving there that Prince Harry isn't the only one losing his title this year. Did I say that out loud? Moving on very quickly before I get sued. I put good evil there. That was the only graphic I can find. Managers that are struggling this season. I got you again, Josh, didn't it?
Evil.
For me, I've got to say two that I could have taken that further, but we'll move on. Two for me that three, I think, there for me that have underperformed this season. Mourinho, I mean, he had Tottenham at the top of the league and they just fell away. Moyes, but has done extremely well the other side, and pains me to say, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I mean, I generally like a manager, Richard, by if I hate the manager, I hate the team. And that it's a strange scenario, but Newcastle, I loved when Kevin Keegan was there because I love Kevin Keegan, and I love Ole as a manager. Again, they were earlier on, a bit like with Moyes, they were calling for the head. The fans hated him, but from where they were, they are actually second in the league. And for me, they've done well. Which managers, good or bad, have stood out for you this season?
I think Brendan again for me. I know it's a personal note, but Brendan's really stood out. Yeah, and Moyes as well. I think Moyes is, as much as I'm not a fan of his managerial style, etc., or the way he comes across, but for me, he's getting results. And on the flip side, the ones that I think Arteta, I think he's struggling. I think whatever he's bought's not worked, and I think the writing's on the wall for him. If I'm honest with you, if he doesn't perform in the latter half of this season, I think he might be struggling.
And Josh, I mean, be careful what you wish for. Pochettino was sacked. They got Mourinho in. Good start. Fallen away now. Is he good or bad for you? Or again, for yourself, who did you choose for this?
I didn't choose Mourinho for underperforming. Really, I mean, I like Mourinho because he's box office, isn't he? And I know that sort of phrase gets put on him quite a bit, but he's always entertaining to watch. And whether he's winning or losing, he's as arrogant as they come. So I do really like Mourinho. Overperforming managers that really impressed me. I think I'll go back to what Rich said earlier about Leeds. I think Bielsa's come into the Premier League and he's not changed the way he hasn't changed the way he played at all. And I think that can either go one or two ways. You think Norwich, they came up a couple of seasons ago. They didn't change the way they played, but it didn't work for them. And I think Bielsa's done really well with Leeds to. It's swashbuckling football, really. It's a case of, well, if you score 3, we're going to try and score 4. So that's been good. And I think the thing is with Bielsa as well, he's got a good history of management behind him anyway. So, but he's definitely impressed me. Underperforming, again, it might be a bit of a controversial one, but I think I'm going to go for the Brighton manager. I think they play good football, but by this, I think by sort of this stage of the season, I definitely expected them to not really be in the relegation conversation, but they are. What is it? Are they like 1 point now? I think they might be level on points for Fulham, something like that. So, and I think he got a decent length of contract as well given to him. So I think even as Brighton fans, you're watching decent football. As we saw on Saturday, they do play some good attacking football, but if you're not getting results, it doesn't count for anything. So I'll put the Brighton manager, Potter, up there as well, definitely.
They're 3 goals slightly better off than Fulham, but other than that, exactly the same points. They've really been dragged into it. Just to swap it round a little bit now, Richard, we're going to look at the top 4 in a second because I think that's a bit more harder to choose. But the teams that you think are going to... Oops, that is the wrong one. I got it in the right order. Sorry, no, it's me. I've been drinking. I'm not going to lie. So the teams that are going to be relegated this year. I mean, I think there's 2 that are, got to be honest with you, nailed on. I think, unless they perform a great escape greater than we had under Pearson, United are dead and buried. I think West Brom will go down as well. Shows what happens when you sort of don't give a manager a chance, West Brom. then it's really difficult to choose. Fulham, Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley, even Southampton up in 14th aren't out of it. If I've got to say one that I'd like to see join the other two, it's Newcastle, because I like to see the big clubs struggle and I like to see the little clubs do well. I always used to think like Leicester, we used to think of ourselves as a little club. So I guess for me, it would be those three. What about yourself, Richard? Who do you think is going to go down?
Yeah, Sheffield United, West Brom for me are pretty much doomed. And I would like to see Fulham stay up, if I'm honest with you. I like the club. I like what he's doing there. And I'd love to see him there for another season in the Premier League. So, yeah, there's a few that could get slipped into it, but I think Brighton are just possibly going to slide away. I do. They had a decent start to the season as well, didn't they? Yeah. In the first few games they won, but I just feel like, they weren't bad on Saturday, but they're not winning. They can't win games, can they? They can't win them scrappy games.
I think they've created more goals, or not created. They've had more efforts and not scored than any other team in the division. So if you're not scoring, that's the problem. I've got somebody agreeing with me here, which makes a change. I've got to be honest with you, Jamie. Thanks for that, mate. The check's in the post. Newcastle to go down. That would be very well. I say from a personal point of view, just because I think Ashley needs to go. I don't think he's doing much for the club there. Josh, your three to go down.
It goes without saying it's going to be Sheffield, West Brom, two definite ones to go down. I think Fulham are going to do it. I think they're going to stay up. And as I agree with Richard totally, I really want them to stay up. I think from when you watch them play, they do play some really good football. I was really impressed with them on Sunday against Liverpool. I thought they were fantastic. I think it's a toss-up between Brighton or Newcastle. Personally, I don't agree with you. I don't want Newcastle to go down because I've got a bit of a soft spot for Newcastle. But I think it's them that's going to go down, unfortunately. I think
nothing to do with any Saturday nights out you've had up there, and
no, nothing like that. I've always not minded Newcastle. I think they're a massive club, and I think from the days when, like I said, when they had Keegan in charge and they had David Ginola and people like that, they've always sort of played good football. But this season they've just been absolutely dreadful, and I think they are going to go down. I really do. I think Fulham will scrape it and Brighton will scrape it. So I think it's going to be Newcastle, West Brom, and Sheffield United.
We'll revisit this at the end of the season, and very, very quickly now, because we've gone on to the longer than I thought we like talking football. Talk football, we go on forever. So very, very quickly, top four in Europe, Richard. Who's going to be in your top four?
Man City, Man U, and then it says all Chelsea. So I'm just I think Chelsea might just pip us to third. Hate to say it.
I'd take four. I mean, we said before, didn't we, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not going to win it, and Man City, let's be honest with you, it would take a massive implosion for them to lose it. It doesn't matter whether you're second or fourth, and if one of the teams wins Europa League, it might even go further. But your top four?
Man City, United. You know what? Just to be different, I'm going to go as to finish third, and Chelsea fourth.
You know
Fingers
what?
crossed.
I picked the same four teams, but I do agree with Richard. I've gone City top, United second. I think Chelsea will pip us just because it's Leicester, and let's face it, there's not a team like Leicester for shooting itself in the foot. And Leicester fourth and Champions League next season. Guys, I'm going to say thank you very much to you, first of all. Josh, thanks for coming on again, even though it wasn't you we were talking about. I'll see you. Is it Sunday we play this week? I think it is. I shall see you pre-game on Sunday.
That's it, mate. Thanks a lot, chaps. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
See you later, guys.
Cheers.
See you, mate.
And Richard, thanks so much for coming on. Just to say, if anybody wants grab truck or skip hire, Richard's your man. Bash Skip Hire is your company?
It is indeed, yeah. For the last 15 years. So, yeah, if anybody needs anything, we can help you.
There's money in rubbish.
I don't know about that.
Numbers there been running and the website address there 01455 209 149 and bashskiphire.co.uk. If you need any skips, anything like that, Richard is your man. Richard, thank you so much. Sorry it went on a little bit longer than we planned, but thank you for joining us, and would be great to have you on again sometime if you are ever free.
Absolutely, Chris. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on.
Brilliant. Thanks for coming on, mate. You take care. All the best to your family and stay safe.
Cheers. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, thanks to Richard there for coming on. That was great to have him on. It's always nice to have an ex-player on because they do see things differently to us as fans. That you could say they see things better, really, couldn't you? Because they know how these things run. Cheers to the Bronze Plumber there. Thanks very much for joining us, mate. And hope you are sorting all your leaks out, as they say. And I just want to say, final one, and I've just lost the comment here. But final one for Jamie. Thanks very much, Jamie. Top four, as it is now, no particular order. I think we've all kind of looked at that and said that. Thanks for joining us, chaps. Been a bit different. No game to talk about. Would have been lovely to talk about Leicester versus Rangers. Not to be. We will be back for the weekend game. We'll be back on Friday. Me and Craig doing the preview show. Hopefully joined by Steve Lynex if he's free. I know he's been working really hard, so he's not been free. But if you can join us Friday at 7 o'clock, we'll be looking ahead to the Sheffield United at home. Let's hope we can carry on the winning ways. Guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for joining in. Thanks to Josh, and thanks so much to Richard for joining us. It was great to have them on. Take care, guys, and I will see you Friday at 7 o'clock. Good night.
Hello, Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all their social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.